things, where we're going to talk about things that happen whether we like them
or not.
Any day now, girls. Any day. Like driving Miss Moses to the market. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming. This is going to be part 3 of our series about homeschooling. So, guys, what have you thought about it so far? Have you guys enjoyed it?
Yes.
I've had to refresh my memory on a lot of things.
Yes. Okay. Well, I think it's been very good, and I do think it's been approachable information. So hopefully you as the listener do not feel stressed out. You do not feel that this is impossible. And let's do a recap. So our first episode, if you haven't had a chance to watch it, was what some common misconceptions that have to do with homeschooling and how we got into it. And then the second one was about curriculum, because that is a huge deal, and support sources, so that way you know you're not alone. And this one, we're going to be talking about the last parts of homeschooling. So I'm really excited. Are you guys revved up?
Yes,
definitely.
I feel like I'm the only one. It's because today I look like Kirk Cameron with a 70s situation. So
No.
it's hard to style. Right now, I'm in the midst of a hair crisis. I need to tell my salon lady, when she cut my hair, it felt like she cut a lot. And my hands do not know how to do Kirk Cameron right now. It just does not, does it well. But anyway, so we're going to get started. Don't forget also to like and subscribe and click the notification bell, and you can always be ready to go when we have a new episode. So, it's my favorite part.
Yes.
Gwen. We're going to start with Gwen on our Would You Rather, and I picked out specific job, school type of questions for today to kind of wrap us up. So, Gwen, who are you asking, and how tall are you really?
I'm only 5 foot, so I'm not tall at all. Everybody's taller than me. You're so funny. Okay, I'll ask you, Jessica.
Okay.
Would you rather work 80 hours one week and have the next week off? Or would you rather work 40 hours for the week spread across 7 days, including weekends, for 2 weeks?
80 hours.
80 to get it all done?
I would. I think, and I think when you get into a groove, I think I kind of do that. I wouldn't say like the job I have, you have to do that. But I think when I get into a groove of going, I have a better chance of having consistent outcome if I keep going and then I finish and I give myself a day of rest. So yeah, I think an 80-hour, get it done, and then you said 2 weeks off?
Yeah, or a week. Was it a week off? And have
No. I mean,
the next week off. So it's basically 80 hours over 2 weeks, including like 14 days altogether, or 80 hours in 1 week.
See, I think I would go for 80 just so then I could do things. I could go on a vacation if I wanted. I could go to a kid's event if I wanted. I could, schedule psychology for why I would put myself through this every week.
Psychology.
All right. Winnie. Oh,
yes.
Let's ask you the question. Would you rather have more work than you could ever accomplish in a day and be stressed, or have hardly any work at all and be bored?
Ooh.
Oh, I would have to say no work at all, because I'm really never bored.
But see, you don't have a choice. You would be bored. That's what it says.
Okay. I do have to say this as a writer, though. You can get lost in your own imagination. So I'll pick that.
Okay. All right, Winley, you have a chance to ask Gwynley the question.
Yes, I will ask Gwynley the question.
Yes.
Would you rather work in a field that is highly in demand but potentially stressful, or one that is more enjoyable but less secure? And I'm assuming that would be less secure financially.
The first one. Work in a field and it be
Yeah.
stressful. That's where I am in my life right now. I'd rather do that. Although I like what I'm doing, but there is a little bit of stress
Uh-huh.
financially. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Always,
Well,
always.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I thought these would be kind of fun. I've learned so much more. And of course, I'm not at all surprised by yours, Whitley. Not at all. You long. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the final years of homeschooling. Now, if you've done public school, which I found this always interesting, um, with public school, you know when it's senior year because the kids are hardly in class. Did you notice that? Gwen, now
Hmm.
you've had two that went to high school.
Hmm.
Did that
Yes.
happen for their senior year as well?
Yes, with sports, they were gone a lot during that
Yeah.
season, but they were also gone because they had a block schedule, which I absolutely love coming from homeschool to that. So they didn't
Yes.
have to take all of their electives so that they could still earn all their credits and graduate early. My oldest son graduated early by half a year because of the credits he had going into high school. And then he just knew to manage it. He's like, this is my high school career. I'm going to do it the way that's going to work for me. He didn't want to walk and graduate. He graduated, but he didn't want to do the ceremony. We were moving anyway, so it
Uh-huh.
worked out. Um, then my daughter went and did dual credit at a community college while she was in high school. So she was never on campus almost that last year. So they both
Yeah.
technically graduated early. And she didn't
Yes.
get to walk because we were moving, like I mentioned, but
Hmm.
she did get to do a graduation ceremony. So she got all of her cords and got to walk in that ceremony. So, yeah,
I love it. Okay, well, let me ask you with Elijah,
yes,
your third. Now you did homeschool him through high school.
all the way through,
What
graduated.
what did his homeschooling final years look like comparative to the public side? Because I think out of all of us, you're the only one in this situation, which is why I love that you're on with us. So
Hmm.
what was his experience, and then how did that play out, comparative to the other two?
Well, it was a good experience, although we did have
Mhm.
COVID going on. So that was
Oh, yeah.
weird because the ceremony, which you would typically choose to join a huge homeschool group so that they could have a ceremony alongside other
Right.
graduating seniors in homeschool. So,
Hmm.
that was different, but I made it a special occasion here. I, of course, ordered the legitimate transcripts for him to move, further his education. Also, to have on record if he chose not to do college or trade school or anything like that. And
Hmm.
I ordered the cords, some of the honors cords we made.
Right.
Got his diploma as well. It's official. It's a legitimate diploma, and
Right.
so we just did that. But as far as like the year, as far as activities and things like that, it was just weird because it was 2020, just all of the
Yeah,
craziness going on.
I didn't make that into consideration at all. Was you're
Hmm.
correct. COVID
Hmm.
really did send us for a loop as far as all schooling,
Right,
because for a lot of kids it sent them home
right.
because no one
We
was
were already
coming.
doing it.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then for the homeschool kids that were already doing it, it had a different effect on them as well, but still an effect. All right,
Hmm.
Whitley, how about you? Specifically on your children, when you knew that you were getting towards the graduation time period, the last couple of years of homeschooling, what did that look like for your children?
Well, I was thinking mine would possibly be the only ones, but they never wanted a graduation or any kind of celebration or acknowledgement or whatever. And in ways, I can very much understand that because
Hmm.
uh, my older daughter, she wanted to do a correspondence school for her high school, and that was fine with us because then she got a diploma. And we started it in California, and at that time, California had a thing where you could even go to public school and homeschool, and you would get a degree,
Mm.
diploma from that school.
Hmm.
We had her go to a private Christian school on paper, but we actually taught her at home. And so she got a diploma from there. Um, and we had moved again before she graduated. So we weren't even in
Wow.
That's
California
okay.
when she graduated from a California school. Um, but my younger two did not want to go through anything. They didn't want anything. And in fact, found out that all they needed was certain SAT scores.
Uh-huh.
So, so by the time they were 15, they started in our local community college. So they never did high school. Um, we got them into their community college. What I found out was one semester of college equals a year of high school. It's kind of like doing the dual
Mm,
credits type thing.
Right.
So, so I got the state requirements for where we were,
mm-hmm.
and that's what classes they took at the community college. So
Oh.
they fulfilled their high school requirements by college courses. And then
Mm-hmm.
they had those college courses to when they went on to university.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't do their transcript until after they had finished so many courses, at community college. When they went on to university, one of them um, did a few more classes, submitted those classes back to the community college, and got her
Right.
associate's degree
Okay.
before she finished her bachelor's degree. Um, but it was one of those things that we, didn't have the graduation. But I did ask my girls last night after you sent me the questions, what
Yes.
was the thing that prepared them the most? What did they like the best about part of this, and what trained them for college? And one of the things they told me was, and remember, my girls are either attention deficit or autistic. And their answer was
That,
church. And the
oh.
reason why is because you have to sit in the pew, you have to be respectful. You may not listen, because if they're sitting still and they're giving someone their entire attention, and this is when it's one-on-one conversation, they're not going to hear a word you say. So what I told them to do for church was for them to draw the sermon. So the pastor would say something that would spike their interest, and they would draw it. And believe it or not, by drawing the sermon, they could tell you what was being said, at least for
Mm-hmm.
that part of the sermon. I got a lot of slack
Interesting.
for that. Some people, why are you letting your kids doodle or whatever during church? And I had to just pass that off because, of course, people are, especially back in the day, we're not very aware of neurodivergent kids and what they need. And
Right.
but they both told me that actually helped them sit in a college class and take notes, because they had
Really?
been trained since little kids to sit in church and draw the sermon. So they didn't have to
Ah.
take notes in the sermon, they had to draw it,
Yes.
but it trained them for that. The other thing that trained them was the military, and having to do all the formal dinners and ceremonies. And when they were young, when the younger two were young, their dad was in command almost constantly. It was like one command for another one. And so they were constantly having to go to those formal ceremonies, but it taught them how to be still and sit in a classroom situation. Because they said, even, that I lectured, they were on a couch, they were comfortable. It was not a formal situation. And the other thing they told me was that one of their friends was studying for the SATs, and
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember in a formal setting, like they went off to a test school and they went together. And she said that was extremely helpful, um,
Mm,
because
Mm-hmm.
even though they had gone uh, to chess, the homeschool groups, and they had been taught different things and had to dissect things and had different teachers. It was still kind of the moms that they knew, their friends' parents, and that sort of thing. But it was a stranger when they went to SAT. The
right.
teacher was a stranger, and so that was very beneficial. And having that friend there with them study for the
Mm-hmm.
SAT, and then they took the SAT together. And that was very, very helpful because we had never had any formal testing because that was never required anywhere we were. So that was the first time they had had formal testing.
Well, that's good to know. Yeah, that's very so it's interesting because like for mine, I was not like either one in the sense of we
Exactly.
did not do no, we didn't do dual credit. Our I would tell you my homeschool wasn't different for a senior than it was when they started. So we didn't do less. We just continued. Um, they did their sports and stuff like that. We didn't study for tests like the SATs. I tossed them into the pool in the sense of you either know how to do this or you don't.
Mhm. Same.
We would and there's going to be places where you don't have to test, and I'm going to encourage you to test your children. I would, because you need to know what is potentially going to be expected. I would absolutely encourage you to do it because you need to know what you might not be covering in your homeschool group. And yeah, I've seen where you don't want to have your kids, if they decide they want to do the college route, to feel like they're lacking because you didn't
Hmm.
cover some of this stuff. And so
Right.
what I look at the test is it's more of accountability for me. Did we cover everything? And in the things we covered, was that enough? And the answer to that was yes. Did they score to the top of the marks that everybody else did? No. But that I wasn't aiming for that. I was just aiming for, do they have enough knowledge for what they need to know comparative to everybody in the nation? Because we are going to be compared to these guys regardless. So when we get
Hmm.
into the school, it's a playing ground
Yes.
and you're on the same page as they are. So if you
Hmm.
I'm trying to say if you're in that place of anti-test
Hmm.
because
Oh, for
you
sure.
don't want government involved,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera,
Hmm.
and I understand that, and you do what you want, but I'm telling you, for me, and to the what I consider part of the
Hmm.
success of my children was testing.
Yes.
Making sure that what I'm teaching is what's
Hmm.
needed for them to go to college if they choose to do so. Your
Right.
child may not. I mean, there is no harm, no foul in that. There's plenty enough things to do in this world without having to go that route.
You want them
I
to be
mean,
ready, and you mentioned it,
Hmm.
confidence. You want them to have the
yes,
confidence because a lot of homeschoolers can go into the public school system via, any grade level or college or beyond
right.
and think that they're inferior, not realizing you're not. You might even be not superior, but if we put it on paper, you may have a more broad education than somebody in another setting. That's family, individual schools, everything's different, everybody's different, but
Yeah.
you can still come into that thinking that you're not legitimate or you haven't done enough, where you probably have done more than enough, most likely.
And good that you mentioned that because I did have a student, my youngest, who did think that.
Mm-hmm.
When we would go play sports with our with a private school, she would come home and just feel like she's less because she's not going to college. She's not doing the dual credit thing.
Right.
She's not. She really worried that, when I get up there, how am I going to fare?
Right.
And I felt pretty confident because
Yeah.
she had already had three siblings before her do
Hmm.
excellent. And I'll say this: if you choose not to do dual, that's okay. We
Right.
didn't, and
Hmm.
part of that was I personally could not take any more. And what I
Mm-hmm.
mean by that is my life. I had a husband deployed. I had
Hmm.
two,
Mm-hmm.
three kids already in different colleges all over, and we were doing full-time sports and everything else. I
Hmm.
personally don't have it in me to go any further. I
Right.
was able to do what I could do, and
Hmm.
that's going to tell you something I think about yourself. Because we had talked about this on the last one: is know yourself. You
Hmm.
really have to. If you're, because
Mm-hmm.
I was doing a photography job, I was teaching. If you put one more thing, one more plate on the life I was juggling, I would
Hmm.
have crashed
Right.
because
Right.
I just couldn't. And there is a guilt that comes from that as the parent, feeling like, well, you're looking out and you're doing the thing of comparing, where you're
Hmm.
thinking, my child isn't going to get the same benefits because I've cheated them due to my own choices. But
But you
with that
didn't.
said,
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
had a wonderful life. She had great
Hmm.
Right.
experiences. And she has done great in school.
Yes.
So even though she
Look at her
wasn't able
now.
to,
Yeah,
yeah,
I know, exactly. She's doing fantastic.
but
But
she's still doing great. So I do want to say that.
well, I
Um,
do want to say something about the testing. When I said my kids did not have testing, we
yeah,
tested all the time at home.
right,
They never had, homeschooling was new, even with my older ones, and we were living in
right,
places where there was not that standardized test. I know that there were some
Right.
states in fact, I think we lived in Virginia 2 or 3 times, and I think Virginia's one of them. But when we were there, if whatever homeschooling or defense put us on, there was no there was no testing. So the
right,
SAT was the first time they went into a strange situation into a with a formal tester. And we did some of that we did some of that when they were home, like they had time tests, they had all of that. Testing like that is
mhm,
a can be a really good thing and a
yeah,
very valuable tool, if it's used right, and the right kind of pressure is put on the kid, and that
right,
you want them to have that pressure of knowing how to do this and to be in this environment,
yes.
but you don't want them to feel less than. So I think it's very important for a mother not to feel, because when you're the teacher, a lot of times you feel, the pressure of, oh, they didn't do fantastic. But that's not why you're testing. You're testing to
Right.
teach them, and you're testing yourself and what you're doing. And yeah. So we have to be really, really careful in testing to make sure that it's on us, and it's a tool for them to learn, and it's really easy for them to fall away when they're with other kids. They're the only homeschool kids around.
I would say across the board, though, even with them, I think whenever you're doing something that's different, whether it be
Hmm.
Mhm.
homeschooling, whatever, you're
Yes.
always going to run into that.
Hmm.
Even in high
Absolutely.
school, you'll run into that
Hmm.
because it becomes about a different kind of goal. In high school, when
Hmm.
I was
Mhm.
going, it was all about being on the academic honor roll or the sports thing. And so you'd have, and which is all
Hmm.
good. I mean, I have no problem with celebrating someone who's put forth the efforts to do well. I think you should
Right.
celebrate
Hmm.
excellence. And I loved being, it was always a surprise to me how I made it. Because you can understand why my mom probably thought, "You're doing what?" Because I'm just not, um, I'm not as academic as some people are. With that said, did you guys do any special trips their senior year? Because that's typical for public school. Did they go to Cabo? Did they go to,
Did I go to Cabo? That's funny.
Wow. I
yes.
mean, it was the beauty of homeschool is the fact that my kids could travel a lot, and their dad was there was so much going on, and he ended up being in 2 battalions at the same time, because they
Ah,
were they you remember when they configured the army,
Yes.
and so he was on the command team, the staff of 2 different battalions, and
wow.
so he was constantly going, and he had apartments, and we would go and travel, and we would play tourist. This is one of the things my kids know. It doesn't matter where you are, we're going to play tourist. And so we that's all we did. It feels like there were so many years we were just traveling and visiting.
This is specifically though for a
Right, for their
senior, not,
senior. and
yeah,
and
you're
I
talking
would
more
say,
like,
after they started college, at the end of the school year, in April or May, then we did take a trip. Just,
okay,
but it wasn't anywhere. It was just, nowhere special. It was just for them to have a break between school and getting back home.
okay. Gwen, for you, was there
Mm.
any, because I mean, I'm looking at, we're just comparing two different types of cultures.
Right.
We have the
Hmm.
public school culture where the senior group typically plans a very
Yes,
a
they
trip.
do.
Maybe they'll go to DC,
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm telling you this, I'm not saying like it's not a great idea. It is. I'm
Uh-huh.
saying this with hilarity because I know my pocketbook could never afford the trip. So I'm just wondering, follow tradition. Did any of your children, because you have two in high school, did any
Right.
of them choose to do a senior trip? Did you guys do anything special for their senior year?
No, but we've also got military culture in there too. So we were moving. We moved the summer that my own, yeah. So
Can
that we
you,
were moving from North Carolina to here to Texas, and they were
right?
both graduating. They graduated that year, the same year. So you've got two doing everything. Absolutely not. I mean, for me as a mom, it was going to be some money would have been concerned, but it would have been more like, you're not going to go on a trip. Like, we're not doing that. And then what? And then I would want to be involved. And then what am I doing with my other two that are younger? So no, it was not an option. But as they've gotten older, they did day trips on their own,
Okay.
Mhm.
Colorado. My oldest worked on a
Mhm.
dude ranch for a summer moment. She absolutely loved it. Her brother went up to see her and camped out in a minivan at a river. I mean, they've done some adventures on
Mhm.
their own. And I've
Okay.
loved that
Yeah.
they've done that. But yeah, no, we were not going to do the let's go to Cabo, Cozumel, any of that. No, I want to go.
No, I know. Let's go and leave the kids.
Dude, we need the break. I'm graduating now.
I do think there needs to be actually on their graduation year, I do think the parents need something.
You're
Now,
right.
Mhm.
I want to entertain this because not that I don't think that these students have worked hard all year, that
Hmm.
this is a wonderful thing for them, their last hurrah.
Mhm.
But in the homeschooling realm, it may be a little different. Now, note though that homeschooling is based upon how you're choosing to approach it. It's not a, well, you can't do those things. If you
Right.
can, great.
Mhm.
Uh, my pocketbook, we're military, we're moving all the time. And because I chose to stay home, that meant we were living off
Mhm.
one income.
On income.
Right.
And my husband did not have the income that could afford all of that.
Right.
You could go to the lake,
Yeah.
you could
But
go to the park.
You
too,
can follow your husband around and stay in his places.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
true.
know, right? They
Yeah.
get to go
Yeah.
all over. But also too, in church culture, you've got missions trips and camps and
Mhm.
things that are typically
We
going on
Yes.
in
do.
the summer. So there
We
tends
do.
to be a little bit more of ministry mindness
Mhm.
going on. You're thinking about that. I mean,
Mhm.
it was like a
So
summer
true.
camp, and some of those were out
Yes.
of the country. But
Mhm.
COVID did mess that up because my oldest daughter was actually on a missions trip when that was going on. They had to come back early. So,
Oh gosh.
Mm.
Again, another good point. I was thinking of, okay, so back to my original other thought was, having to do life with your child where you are the sufferance of complaints. I mean, it's a 24/7 job
hmm,
Mhm.
always. And
Mhm.
especially during the school time when you're doing all the work, it would be kind of good for there to be a vacation for the mom or the vacation for the parents that were actually making it
Mhm.
happen.
right.
That would be so nice, like a special spa day or something. So I'm actually going to just encourage you that if you choose to do this upon their
Hmm.
graduation, consider taking a day and doing and congratulating yourself for
Mhm.
surviving it, liking them, being
That's
able to
key.
make it through with minimal problems. No one was arrested. This is good.
Nobody was
This is all good.
arrested.
Because let me tell you, it's homeschooling is not for the faint of heart. I mean, we talk about it in some ways. I think that it is lighthearted and it is, but it can be very emotional. If you
Right.
have a child that has issues, that in itself, just dealing with that is a big thing. And it'll feel like sometimes you're alone in that scenario and it gets really heavy. But when we get around time for graduation,
Mhm.
things start to change. These people we've looked at as little people, little kids, are not, and they're
Mhm.
starting to make those choices. And so that's why I wanted to
Mhm.
cover it today. So, Whitley, you did not do graduation. ceremonies. Gwen, you said you did
I did. I had
with.
everybody over, food, pictures, the whole table, the graduation table, dessert, everything. Did a little
Love
speech.
it.
I had some scripture that I had planned, some things that were very moving to me that I wanted to share with Elijah. And what was so sweet is later on, he talked to me about how some of that really, really touched him. It meant a lot to him that I
Um,
did that. So
Cool.
it was really, it was sweet.
I love that. I love that.
And it was more
I
his speed. He doesn't want to be out in front of anybody. So it was a blessing the way that it worked out.
Mhm.
so all our graduations were fortunate enough to be in one place.
And I've been
And how
there.
that
Mhm.
I've been to some
happened,
of them.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
that happened, I don't know. But because we were moving in between these graduations,
Mhm.
but we were able to graduate with one place. So we did our
Mhm.
graduation with our co-op. And as a matter of fact, for transcripts, and we'll get to that, HSLDA has
Mhm.
a transcript that you can go online and download. And it is a college ready transcript. So it'll help
Yes.
you fill it all out to where you can submit it. But
Mhm.
anyway, we did the graduation. What was really cool about it is that you can invite family and friends. And there was, I mean, you might have 12 to 15, depending on how many were homeschooling that year, whether they went to the co op or not. You can have quite a few graduates.
Right.
But each family got to do a slideshow of their student. The parents talked over their student about them, committed a verse to them, if you will. And then the co op would host like a reception where you could decorate a table and then have people come and drop off cards and everything else. I feel like it was very personable.
Mhm.
I got to take pictures for a lot of these graduations that even though my children weren't in, I did that and I absolutely loved it. Um, and then even in our church, I don't know if you guys had this for your church, but they do a senior Sunday where
Mhm.
Right.
you could
We
go
do.
and take a table with their pictures and their things and just and they celebrate their seniors that way. And then they call them up at the front
Mhm.
and you walk with them and just congratulate everybody. So I love that. I think um, I mean, I definitely get where some won't want to do that, but I'm really glad I got the opportunity
Mhm.
because it just kind of finished the year for me. I had closure. Because sometimes when they're going ahead and they're like right in college, it just feels like it was a moment.
Mhm.
I really like sometimes that celebration. That's just a me
Yes.
thing. But
Mhm.
for you guys, where were you guys at? So we covered you, Gwen. How about you, Whitley? Did you guys do anything to notate it? Did you send, hey, the girls graduated. Hey, everyone's doing great. We're in Cabo. What exactly did you
We did do the thing at church. They did that
do?
because,
Okay.
it was basically your Sunday school class. They did it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But they really did not want anything else. I told them that's fine, but when they graduate from college, they are definitely walking, and we are going to,
Mhm.
No.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
we're going to do something with that, and
Yes.
and so that's what they did, and that was okay because they went to bigger universities, and so they were lost in the crowd. It wasn't as
Mhm.
focused on them as it would have been if they'd have done it with the smaller homeschool group. So,
I,
yeah.
we had talked about HSLDA, but on
Hmm.
transcripts. So, Whitley, you
Yes.
said, if I
Hmm.
could remember correctly, you waited to do their transcript till after they had done some of their college courses, and then you basically put forth the transcript. Now, did you make your own
Hmm.
template, or did you go download it from somewhere? How did you come
Uh,
about doing
I used the standard state template
that? Okay.
that the local high school used.
Mm-hmm.
But as you say, Homeschool Legal Defense has a template, and basically all
Yeah.
you need is that template and to know what your state regulations are,
Okay.
and to do that. And um, you know, of course, I think it was the easiest to do some of the extracurriculums
Right.
like music and PE. And I mean, we had martial arts. You had, so some of them were really very easy to do, and they did not do it in college. Of course, they did take PEs in college simply because they needed it to graduate from.
Yes, they always do.
Yeah,
They
I
always
always
do.
do. So, but if depending on the regulations change between children as they always do. So depending on how many credits you needed for something, that would
Right.
determine. And the focus was more on just getting your high school transcript and having those your first year or two. And also I told them they could not go off to university until they were 18 years old. And so
Good.
it was like, and they were 15 at the time. So it slowed their roll too. They just started out with taking, I think, 2 courses, then we went up to 3 courses, and then we went up to the full load. So I gradually worked their way out. We had plenty of time. They had 3 years.
I like
Um,
how you did that, because I think that keeps them from being put in a situation as a young student
Right.
with people that
mhm.
are full on adults but on their own and getting
Mm-hmm.
influenced. I think that's so smart. Gwen, and by the way, Whitley, that was great. I love that. All of that. Gwen, how about you when it came time for transcripts? Did you have one do high school but go back to homeschooling? How did you manage their transcripts and doing
Okay.
all this?
Transcripts went through HSLDA, and they had
Right.
it was Fast Scripts, I think is the company that they were advertising to use through them. They recommended. So you can pay like a yearly fee and be a member of that, and
Mhm.
go in periodically, log in, and just punch in all of their grades. But what I did is just chose to do it at the end of the year, because I kept up with it on a piece of paper or whatever, wherever I kept up with it in my tablet, and then plugged all the information in their template, and it calculated everything. And then they also gave, last year when I had to do Naomi's to go into high school, it gave
Right.
suggestions on the wording, because I needed it to look as
Mhm.
legitimate as it was, but I needed it
Yeah.
to be applicable to public school, so that it was no like,
Right.
wait a second, what's that? Of course, she went
Yes.
in with lots of extra credits. So as Naomi went in,
Mhm.
she was able to choose if she wanted to be a sophomore or a junior, because we
Wow.
did dual
Mhm.
credit in 8th grade. Because in Texas, you can do high school in 8th grade if it's a legitimate high school curriculum. And
Right.
you can get credit for 8th grade history, but then you're also getting your credit for high school. So she would be 4
Nice.
credits, 5 sometimes ahead of her. So yeah, just did the transcripts that way, printed them out around $20-ish. It wasn't very expensive. And took them up there. They accepted them. They looked really well. They're professionally done. I highly recommend that. I
Yeah.
just wanted it to be, I didn't want to miss out on anything. I didn't want to leave something out.
Mhm.
So it was easy to use
No,
them.
Exactly.
I think it's smart. Again,
Yeah.
what is interesting is about the three of us. I feel like this is like tax season,
Yeah.
and we were prepared years in advance, Whitley.
Yeah.
We're prepared all year for the day. You're
Yeah.
early. And I'm that one that's April 15th, cram and scram. I'm like, oh, my God.
Is that today?
It still worked out. It didn't matter.
Yes. Yeah, it
It
worked
did,
out.
but it's almost like the three little bears, but I don't know which bear I am in this case, but
That's
I
funny.
definitely not, I'm not ahead on my stuff, because I think I was homeschooling 4 children at a time,
Right.
Mhm.
and I would just be focused in on what we're focused on
Right.
until it came
Mhm.
time for
At
graduation.
that
And by
moment.
then, the idea of we needed a transcript,
Oh.
crap.
Well, I
And
checked
then I'm
ahead of time,
right.
because
I will,
Mhm.
Solomon and Abby went into public school, so they had to have
yeah.
transcripts. And then,
Mhm.
that's null and void the minute they get accepted into anything else. So you're stressing over something that you really don't need to put that much stress on. Just know how
Oh,
to go back and get the info.
I will say, you remember when I was talking about in the last segment about planners?
Yes.
So
Mhm.
because I had these planners,
Yes.
I
Mhm.
absolutely could easily go
Hmm.
back and do it. It was just I waited too long.
Right.
But 100% you're right. I think I was just worried because, again, because you're doing something different, you don't always feel like you're good enough. And this has
Right.
always been a problem with me, sometimes not having that confidence, like we've done enough. So,
Right.
I mean, yes, they may be taking Thai over here at high school language class, but we're learning like everything under the moon plus extra to cover what we
Mhm.
might not be learning because I'm work.
Well, but we're a sample of 3 out of the community,
Yes,
and we're all
Yeah.
yes,
different in
Yeah.
so many ways. And really, it's being led by God to do what you know is right to do. You're being obedient. You're
right.
doing it. It's not
Mhm.
easy. It's one of the hardest jobs I ever had,
Mhm.
was being a
Oh,
mom in general, but teaching as
yeah,
well. but the most
Right.
rewarding, and you're just doing it, and you know that eventually
Hmm.
you'll get to wherever. And they amaze me. I look at all of their accomplishments, the way that they
Mhm.
process information, the way that they look at the world. Their worldview is what I was hoping for, was a biblical worldview, and
Yeah.
just being able to think on their own, know how to learn,
Hmm.
not memorize everything, but know
100%.
how to learn.
100%. Well, when Whitley was covering, what she was doing as far as like going to church and
Hmm.
stuff to prepare them, I would just tell you that my homeschool prepared my kids to love school because they weren't
Hmm.
used to the desk, they weren't used to that. It made them more attentive when they went from working on a couch, working at a table, to working where everyone else is in an official setting. So where, the kids in those official settings might get burnt out, and I don't blame you at all. My kids hadn't yet gotten burnt out. So it
Right.
was kind of like
Hmm.
having all that unrestrained freedom
Right.
and then getting
Hmm.
it into more of a boundary situation was really good. And they were very thankful for it. So,
Yes. Yes.
you know,
Oh, yes.
that was good. Let's talk about what happened after graduation, because now we've got choices for all these kids. And I know that each one, they all went different ways and did different
Hmm.
things. And we don't have to go necessarily into their specialties. We're looking at just more the path they chose. You could talk about like a path that they took, maybe two that chose two different types of path. So
Hmm.
that way we can show some options, because in a homeschool setting, not all of them are necessarily going to do the same things. So, Whitley, we'll start with you, go to Gwen, and then I'll end it. Go ahead.
Well, mine's going to be pretty short on this as far as what they did because they went to college.
Don't
Uh,
you? Don't you for making smart people and going to.
No way.
I love it.
they, I mean, it was kind of like, in fact, I remember at one time, one of them, it may have been, it was after she had gone to college and all, and she said, I just found out that I didn't have to go to college. Uh,
Ooh.
really,
Okay.
the assumption, they told me the assumption was always that you went to college. So they just made the assumption that they're going to college and they never questioned it. But another thing about that too is that my kids took classes to learn. So when they went to college, when they took a class, they expected to learn.
Right.
And one of the things that they have seen and they have talked about now is, with all of these online classes, is people are just trying to get through them and they're not trying to learn the material. They're just trying to, how can I make this and get through this class? And their whole attitude, I think I said earlier, that when one of them went to the counselor and they go, what do you want to major in? And she told them, and they ask, well, how much experience do you have? And she goes, none. I'm coming to learn. And
Right.
that is one of the, when you were saying that, that was one of the things that I thought was just fantastic, was the fact that they want to learn and they're eager to learn and they have a whole different attitude about it than a lot of other people coming in. Um,
Right.
we actually, at the time, of course, remember Ancient of Days here. Uh, we didn't know exactly how homeschool was going to be accepted or not accepted. We just
Yeah.
knew our kids had to go to college so they would be accepted. And but now, it under different circumstances, in fact, right now I'm questioning whether or not trade school might be the best way to go in this environment. We were very fortunate that our children chose universities that were more on the conservative side, and the supportive side. Like, we're going to support our students, because I know there's some universities that you go to, where they go in and they go, you see the person next to you, that's your competition.
Mm.
And what I really liked about the youngest one's university, when we went into that parents' meeting, they said, "You see those people beside you? Yes, uh, you are the top 5% in the state. You cannot get into this university without being the top 5% in the state. So nobody in this room should fail. And if your buddy isn't making it, you'd better figure out what was wrong and you'd better help them, take them along with you, because there is no reason for anybody not to make it that has
Mm.
stepped foot in this university."
Wow.
And with that attitude, I mean, it makes a big difference being able to go to those schools.
Right.
However, since those times, I know that a lot of the presidents and the chancellors and all that have come into these schools have different attitudes, and have kind of seen a little bit of a turn from those things than what they've been in the past. Hopefully that will
Mm.
turn around. But because of that atmosphere, I would probably strongly encourage, especially if someone loves to do hands-on things, for someone
For
to
sure.
possibly go to a trade school. Mhm.
Okay. Uh, thank you. Gwen, what do you think?
Okay, wow. So, again, moving, trying to figure out what to do. My oldest
Mhm.
daughter finished up community college here, and they had Tarleton University and Texas Tech
Mhm.
University as choices to go through the community college there. And they would have certain professors come there. Some of them would be online. Again, through the COVID time, so a lot was on Zoom. She never set foot in Lubbock on that campus until graduation, but it was absolutely
Wonderful.
amazing to be a
Mhm.
huge, it was a huge ceremony. It was amazing to be a part
Mhm.
of that, but she wasn't immersed into that culture. So she was, the little symbols and something with a gun. We didn't know anything about this. We knew the colors. I got her the gear, but, yeah, she got to graduate there. But with the boys, they went to trade school. TSTC is amazing, phenomenal school.
Mhm.
You can get, my youngest son got an associate's degree. I believe Solomon did too. I think he got the associate's degree. He chose
Uh,
not to do the ceremony. Elijah did. It was amazing because it was all the different TSTCs within so many hours of here that came here and had the ceremony. It was so cool. Cap and gown, all the cords, all the things. So it was neat. But yeah, they chose to do that. And Abigail earned her bachelor's degree through Texas Tech. Got
not,
high honors actually. Elijah
not,
went into
Mhm.
TSTC testing very high, particularly in math and on other things. They were really impressed with him. He did well, and is working in his field. And Solomon did really well, and he has graduated to heaven. So
yeah.
Mhm.
I was proud of him. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
no, no, oh, yeah,
He
yeah,
picked
as you
a
should be.
very creative field that
Hmm.
definitely encompassed all the things,
Yeah. Lots of
with
danger
alignment.
involved.
I appreciate, I mean, it takes a special kind of person to do a job like that, and I'm so thankful
Mhm.
for people that do. And
Yeah.
yeah, whenever I see alignment, I always think of him
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, yeah. He did really well, and he made it to journeyman. So we've got his
Yes.
Ooh.
certificate for that. That was nice that they honored us, and I've got that in my possession. It was really important to me because the things that were important to
Mhm.
him were to me, and that was one of them. So
Absolutely.
yeah, but he did
Absolutely.
really
I
well.
love that.
So I'm definitely for the trades,
Yeah,
and
Mhm.
I remember when we were talking about so you had kids going to trades, I think before I did. I think all our children kind of overlap doing different things. So I have
Mhm.
all four of mine did do college. Two of mine chose to do National Guard alongside college.
mm-hmm,
So they would not
Mhm.
have to pay
right.
for the college.
Mhm.
Now we'll start with the oldest two. The oldest two, my first two, when they went, we did not have a college fund. Now, I have very responsible friends, very responsible, and they created a college fund. They had money. We did not.
Most people
I,
don't have that option.
yeah. So again, if you're like me, just know, what do you do? Well, you go to college. If you want to go to college, that's where you go. And what they ended up doing is getting scholarships. So
Hmm.
they did
Mhm.
really well, and they would write in scholarships and basically got a lot of their college paid for by getting scholarships, getting
Wonderful.
Oh,
involved in
yeah.
different programs. Like I think one of them was in Theta Gamma Mu, which I love saying it.
Data Grandma Moo.
Yeah.
Is that something to do with
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A? No, just kidding.
It was a secret society of, I don't even know what it was, but it, intellects, and it
I
was
love
fun.
it.
And then another one was beta, beta, beta. So if you're not someone who is rushing, your kids isn't rushing for college, they're not doing the sorty thing, your kids can still get involved in different types of groups like this
Mm-hmm.
that only help them after they graduate, even
Right.
being involved in them. So, and it's not like, oh, they're going to have, drunk parties or anything like that. These are academic kind of groups that look great on a college transcript later on.
Exactly. I will
Right.
tell you this. I had one daughter who applied for every scholarship. It didn't matter how much. If it was a couple of
Yeah.
$100, she applied for it.
Right.
The thing was, when she graduated from university, she
Yes.
had money.
Wow.
And
that's
because,
fun.
yeah, she had so much money. And it wasn't from these big, gigantic scholarships, which are hardly out there anymore. But it
Right.
was from these little bitty 50, 100, 200, $500 scholarships. She applied for them all. And yeah, so don't ever look at it. I believe she spent, I don't know how many hours a day. But the nice thing about it is once you have written, they all require essays, but once you've written one essay, you can just about copy and paste part of it and just tweak it to fit the organization that was asking for it. And so therefore, do not be afraid of just
Yes.
blanketing those scholarships out there
That's
because
true.
they add up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Okay. So where was I? Okay. So for my third son, I have 4 girls. No, wait.
no, you don't.
Okay. You're not supposed to talk, Whitley, when you're not on camera.
Whoa. Oh.
Okay. So let me finish. Let me
Otherwise,
finish.
Oh.
Whitley, you're a hot
that
mess
one she
today.
must have a blooper reel.
We're gonna
I know.
know.
We absolutely. Wait. Oh, I have technical support today.
There we go. Okay, we're back. All right, so I'll finish.
Oh.
All right. So where I was at was we had 2 that went to college and supported themselves by doing scholarships because I didn't have money to support them.
Mhm.
Then for my son, he chose to go the National Guard route. He chose to do the ROTC route. So he did a year of regular school, and then he signed up to join the military, did the ROTC thing, and he's still involved in the National Guard. He kind of decided the ROTC wasn't going to get him where he needed to go in his career, so he let that one slide by. And also a different thing about him is he took a gap year. So after he graduated, he actually went to work for a year.
That's right.
And just kind of did that before he ever did the college thing. And once he did, that's when he did the military. Following suit, my youngest daughter decided she wanted to do the National Guard as well. So she went to school for, I'd say, half a year and then did the National Guard thing. And so now they do National Guard part-time, every once a month deal. And then they do school. And she's going to a big school. He chose to go to a smaller school than that one because he felt like it was more customized to what he was looking for.
Nice.
And so everyone took a different path, but they all turned out well. So the school that my youngest is going to would not be at all considered a conservative school, but I will tell you, it's a very impressive school because I like how they absolutely support their students. I love that.
It's important.
And I'm not saying that the school that my other 3 went to did not. It was a great school. But this one in particular, they're helping you once you graduate get to that next part. And I think that's great.
So
And
important.
of course, like some of the big colleges, you're going to have alumni who are looking for graduates from that group. And I think when I remember your daughter specifically working for a place where they had alumni from that college, and they're like, yes,
Yes,
yours
they
is
loved it, and it
college.
helped her get that job.
Yes.
Hmm.
Let me show you Bob. This is Bob.
Oh, Bob is so cute.
Yes. This
Look
is
at
who's been
him.
barking in the back. We're still working on it. I realized,
Oh,
yes, I realized today he has no ability to know he's peeing.
oh,
I didn't know that was possible in a dog, but if you
okay.
talk to him, he's checking to see, did I pee? Is it going? So maybe it's his prostate. Maybe it's a guy thing. Maybe I need diapers. I don't know yet. Anyway, totally different subject.
Good
Okay.
to know.
So let's wrap this up with life after homeschool. What do you do when you're done? What did you guys all decide to do now that you're kind of wrapped up with your homeschool? Gwen, let's start with you.
Me?
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh gosh. Well, I wasn't expecting to be done this soon.
right,
So,
right.
hmm
but it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing. I don't know. It's a weird freedom that I wasn't wanting to have until it was
Yeah.
time, but I'm appreciating it. And now that she's driving, it's like, oh, okay, wow, I've got a lot more independence. Again, I wasn't expecting to have. It's just a side thing that's happening, a blessing there.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's good. It's. I did go through the identity crisis, though. I mean, I went through that for other reasons,
Yeah.
and just was in there with it because it was almost like, gosh, this is another thing that identifies who I am and a value that I placed on myself based on what I was doing. So there's a lot of growth in me, and I don't know. It's a blessing. It's been a good transition. So
Okay.
yeah.
I'm going to go to Bob outside, but I can hear you. But would you tell us, like, what did you do after your children all graduated? What were you doing?
I went back to school and learned script writing. So, and then I
Wow.
got several coaches, and I started writing. So that's what I did.
Pursue something that obviously you've been wanting to do for a long time.
I didn't really realize that I wanted to do it. It was
Okay.
Lizzie was really into film. She wanted to pursue that. We had shot a lot of shorts and had done a lot of short film and that sort of thing. So I thought I was really going to be producing, and Lizzie was
Mm,
working also on student films where the university actually brought me in, and I was like assistant producer with the professors that were the producers for their student films. And so I was working towards that. But we wanted to shoot a film, and we were looking for a script, and Lizzie didn't have time to work on it, and so I ended up starting to write it, but starting to
wow.
write. And then I realized I need some schooling on this. And that's what so I, I stopped homeschooling and went to school.
Yeah,
Wow.
you are the Reba McEntire song, Is There Life Out There?
Yeah.
That you are. For me, I would say that I don't know that life, I think the only thing that's different is they're not here.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
hmm
hard.
My
hmm
life is pretty much as far as like what I do. I do photography, which I love. And actually I started that way earlier before any of them graduated, just as I
hmm
told you before, as a way to just document and send it to my husband who was deployed, and then it turned into a job which I loved. And having that is really good because then you don't it takes care of that empty nest problem of what do I do with myself. I have
Right.
something to do with myself, and I have
hmm
DIYs that I'm doing, so I enjoy all that. I
hmm
think what I miss the most is just being involved in their lives like I
Right.
was.
hmm
Being getting the front row seat to the drama, the tea, the problems, because now they're solving them. Now they're adults.
hmm
Now they don't need me in the same way anymore. And so, I'll have my feel bad moments for myself on that, because I love being needed, but I'm glad that they don't need me because they're incapable of handling it. They're very
Mhm.
capable people. And I feel like if God were to call me home, that I didn't leave anybody without, you know, the tools to survive this world. So they're not, it's not like one of those, there was this old sketch. It was, I think it was this comedy show, and it was this mom, and they had an umbilical cord attached to their son, Stuart, who was an adult. And she's like, Stuart, I don't wanna. I don't feel like we have that relationship anymore because they're all different. They like different things. Sorry. That's a visual. Like I feel like I've wrapped it up,
Oh,
and I'm proud of them. And now I'm a dog mom to
A dog mom to
Barkley, who is
Bob,
a
to
yeah,
Barkley.
dog mom to Barkley, who is a very lovely model Chihuahua who has no bad side except for towards strangers and other people.
Mm-hmm,
And then Bob, who doesn't understand boundaries and is bladder. Those are the only two
yes.
problems.
mm-hmm. Bladder.
I'm telling you,
Hmm.
we're going to have to get an expert on to tell me how to deal with a dog who literally doesn't know if it's peeing or not. He has to check. Gotta do one on that.
Did I do that? Am I the one
Yeah.
doing it?
Hey, you're talking. Let me check. Not peeing yet. We're good. We're safe. Like, how old are you?
Oh no.
Adopted dogs, man. Adopted dogs. Okay, so before we wrap up, is there any tip that you could give somebody as they're finishing their journey for themselves at all? And it's okay if you don't. I don't know that I have anything particular, but I like to ask. Is there something you'd like to share with someone else they're wrapping up? What would you say was it a regret or something you were glad you did in a very short summary? Whitley, you're nodding, so I feel like you should go first.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Um, First, I just want to say one of the things that helped my girls kind of the most was the fact that they did take acting lessons. And I know there's a lot of community colleges out there. There's a lot of classes. I know that Jessica's taught a homeschool class on acting. And one of the things it helped them with was the college interviews, getting up in front of the class and doing presentations. The
Mm-hmm.
improv classes. I mean, it's really amazing. I have, an autistic daughter who would sit in the back of the class and away from everybody. But whenever it was time to do a presentation and she went up and did it, it shocked everyone. And in fact, she met a professor out one time and told her, who she was and what class she was in. And she goes, "Oh, I know who you are." No one could ever forget a performance like that. And that's what she called her presentation, was a performance like that.
Oh wow.
So it was just amazing. So acting is really great. And before we did this, I did ask my girls, about what they felt like was the most beneficial. And one of the things they told me, which really surprised me, was that they feel like they were better prepared for college than the kids who went to high school,
Right. Mm-hmm.
because college was more like homeschooling
Mm-hmm.
than high school was, because you were responsible for your work. Whereas in high school, you've got someone there, do it. It's due. Where is it? Where in college,
Yeah.
here, this is what you're supposed to do. And then you have to turn it in. And that's what we did every day. This is what you're supposed to do. It was on them to turn it in. I didn't stay on them. If they didn't, they got a bad grade. And that was enough right there in order for them to do it. But that was the one that really surprised me the most. So uh, I look at that as a don't worry issue when they're telling me
Mm-hmm.
these things that help
Yeah.
them the most in college were the things that were just, I look at as everyday life.
Yes, it felt normal.
Yeah,
Wait, how about you?
exactly.
How about you, Glenn? What do you think?
Similarly, I mean, with homeschool, everybody's can look different. There's some similarities, of course, but
Hmm.
every child is different. So you do have your
Yes.
law and your requirements, and by all means, you need to follow those and do that. But you have a lot of freedom to allow that child to pursue things that may not be written out in a transcript. It may be called like 2 words, and it doesn't encompass everything that you did. I've got one that's an amazing
Hmm.
artist, and I mean, how do you convey that on a piece of paper? But it does translate into his life and the things that he loves to do and
Hmm.
how he shares, that art with other people as gifts, and just it's just so cool to see. But they're all different, and have
Yeah.
different desires. So, I mean, you just allow the homeschool to bring that out in them. I would have loved for
Mhm.
somebody to say, "Hey, I'm noticing you're really good at this. This would be really good for you to pursue." Having some sort of
Hmm.
guidance at all. So I think just guiding them is good. I didn't have
Yeah.
a huge expectation of like, you're all going to college, but we did have the military benefit that paid them to
Hmm.
go to school. So it paid for school
Hmm.
and then gave them monthly amounts of money, to live on. So it was really nice that they had that. I mean, there's just some
Yeah.
sacrifices that went into getting them that benefit, but
Mhm.
they got to do that. So I really encouraged them to use that time and that money wisely. But
Mhm.
again, I wasn't going to force them to do something that they were like, this is stressing me out so much. I don't want to do it, or their career didn't require it. But I just wanted them to have the confidence. They needed to read well. They needed to know science. They needed to
Yes.
be okay in front of people. They needed to have some interest, regardless of what others were doing. But they did well in their school settings in university and stuff like that because
Hmm.
of being able to study on their own. Like you mentioned, just being able to
Yeah.
be disciplined enough and understand that you can do this. It takes time. There's a minimal amount of time. You can't take all year, but you need to get it done and meet those goals.
Hmm.
So yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, just don't stress on it. And one thing I want to say, we mentioned diplomas and transcripts and things like that. Nowhere in the world is it, I say the world, but in the United States, you do not, I don't know about the world because I want to be technical. You do not have to have your child take their GED. They do not need to do that to graduate. I noticed in the homeschool community, there is always a small little
Hmm.
group of people. And some of those were their situation in life and maybe within their family, and they were needing to get them in the workforce or maybe even to college and just call it, we're done. I don't know how I feel
Hmm.
about that. And I don't know their situations completely to know if that was actually the right or the best thing to do. However, it is not required. You do not have to do that. Your homeschool is legitimate and your curriculum is legitimate. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Your transcript. In fact, some
Yes.
universities feel like your transcript is better than a
Hmm.
GED.
Yes, I agree.
I've
I
I've
agree.
had I've had I've had them tell counselors from different universities tell me that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Do not worry
Um,
about a GED.
I would say that it's probably what I've said before. I am glad I did it because I felt like I got to know my kids so much better.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
And I got to be a part of what mattered in their lives. I didn't let the school shape that for me. I didn't let the people going there be the bigger influencers than what we were. And
Hmm.
now that they're adults and they're going
Hmm.
back into that, they don't have a label on them. That's the typical, like when they think of homeschool, the misconceptions, typically that's never going to happen because they're able to handle it and they don't have to worry about this person not liking you in class and your lifestyle
Hmm.
being miserable. When I get it, there all these people are gonna be talking about me. None of that superfluous stuff that doesn't matter
Hmm.
matters when you're homeschooling. And
Hmm.
I like that part of it. There's no drama unless you're going to drama, you know.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. It doesn't mean that there won't be drama in the sense of not seeing eye to eye. But
Hmm.
I do like that there were other parents I could talk about this with.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
like that there's more than one way. Have you
Yes.
heard the term one way to skin a cat? Why does anyone say that? But there is more than one way to do this. Now, for some people, they're
Hmm.
not going to like that. They want the one
Right.
way, and we can't go any other way but that. It's got to be just like this. I need it to go from X to Z or A to B,
Mm.
whatever. You know what I'm saying? A
Yes.
Yes.
to Z.
A to Z.
And then there's other ones of us that are like, well, I like this, but I don't feel like I'm going to be able to do that particular path. What can I do to help me within what I've got
What
capabilities
you
for?
can't.
And I
Hmm.
like that. I like that we have several different paths to follow and they can all end up in similar areas of success. So just because you didn't do this doesn't mean that X, Y, and Z are going to happen now, and that you've disenfranchised your child. You haven't. I like that. And now I feel like I'm closer with my children than I was even with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Because
yes,
in
definitely.
school, you're not talking to your parents, you're talking to your friends, you're talking to your family in school, I would say, and you guys can jump in on that. But I think in a public setting, I don't think your family is as important as what your friends and the outside is. So they kind of get drowned out by all of these other things. And the longer they go, the more you
Mm-hmm.
see it. And I see that more. Now, if you've got a really close relationship with them, in spite of that, you are so fortunate. And I wish that that were the case. But I think it isn't a lot of the times. And I think you
Right.
can kind of see that sometimes in the stories that'll come up on the news and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone's trying to make it. The parents are trying to work. They put their kids in a safe situation, or so they thought. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Right.
it is what it is at the end of the day. But
Right.
I appreciate you guys so much for joining today.
Thank
And
you.
what a great wrap up. I hope I have not caused a controversy. Be like, just know I'm human and I'm fallible. And I did not have that scripted. So there you go. But no, I appreciate it. We will be back with a new episode next week. And I'm not sure what that one's going to be because I have to look at my list of things. But we will be doing another beauty one. So, because I've ordered some new products.
Oh,
I'm so
wow.
influenced.
Oh,
Yes. So, but I will catch you guys up because we will have our special guest back again. What were you going to say?
I was going to I was going to say, yeah, what is Jessica doing after she finishes homeschooling?
Everything.
Everything.
Everything. That's
Knocking the walls
right.
down. Rebuilding the
Yes.
kitchen.
Right. And trying every beauty product out there.
Yes.
I know I'm so influenced, but you know, I feel like I need to try this and save you selves from the mistakes I'm making. Anyway, thank you so
I
much.
love
I
it.
hope
Thank
that you
y'all.
have a wonderful day, and we'll see you later next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.